Incredible turnaround. Waitress discovers the surprising truth about the backpacker in her cafe. The diner felt like a clock, ticking away, and Emma was its unwitting keeper. Despite the quaint charm of the retro decor, the red vinyl booths, chrome-trimmed counters, the weight of her life sat heavy on her shoulders. Each glance at her watch whispered of responsibilities unshackled by dreams. As bills piled up like the uneaten plates of half-finished meals, Emma's thoughts spiraled into worries about foreclosure and yet another late notice. Her heart raced as she juggled the demands of her son Max and the diner, yearning for a freedom she could barely remember. It was an ordinary afternoon when he walked in. Jake, a tall stranger clad in a rain-soaked jacket and sporting an oversized backpack. He shook off droplets of water, and in that moment he seemed to breathe life into the gloomy diner. He caught her eye, a spark igniting an unexpected connection. As he slid into a booth, Emma felt a curious pull towards this wandering soul. Their conversation flowed effortlessly. His tales of travels breathed adventure into her mundane existence, and she felt the oppressive grind of her worries momentarily slip away. For the first time in ages, laughter bubbled forth, shattering the somber shadows that clung to her. Yet just as the warmth enveloped her, a phone call shattered the fragile peace. The bank representative's voice was a stark reminder. The diner, her and Max's legacy, was on the brink of foreclosure. Too many debts, they said. Every syllable felt like a door closing, a tightening noose around her aspirations. The laughter faded as resentment bubbled up toward the father she barely knew, the one who, despite his wealth and success, had left Emma with nothing but burdens and unanswered questions. Why had he abandoned her to fight this fight alone? Before her thoughts could spiral down a darker path, Jake asked about the legacy of the diner, curious but unaware of the chaos unfolding in her mind. Conflicting feelings washed over her. Would he still be amused by this project, if he knew the truth? She could feel her defenses rising as Jake leaned in, genuinely interested, and she hesitated. If she allowed herself to unravel, would she let him down? Would she become another problem to be fixed? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Worry gnawed at her as she considered Jake's true identity. Had he come to save her, or merely to create another layer of distance? His warm smiles felt like a mask, hiding the potential gaze of judgment beneath. If she accepted his help, would it mean surrendering her independence? Standing on the precipice of her burgeoning hope, Emma felt every beat echo through her veins. Could she trust someone willing to step into her troubled world? As silence enveloped them, she felt an impending decision loom, each heartbeat more desperate than the last. The diner was a battleground of emotions, a tangle of ambition and skepticism, where dreams collided with the unresolved past. All she wanted was to shield Max from the weight of her choices while battling her desire for freedom. Tomorrow could bring renewal or destruction. The stakes had never felt higher. And in that moment, she stood on the edge, uncertain of which way to leap, the world beyond the diner walls holding its breath alongside her. As the diner buzzed with the chatter of customers and the clatter of dishes, Emma's mind swirled like the steam rising from the coffee pots. She forced a smile as she served a family at the counter, each interaction requiring her to don a mask. It had become second nature, a shield against the impending collapse of everything she had built. But even as she moved through the motions, a question replayed relentlessly in her mind. What was she willing to sacrifice to save the diner? Could she allow herself to dream again? Or did the weight of debt crush any flicker of hope? With Jake still in her thoughts, she reflected on his stories of traveling the world, each tale a testament to freedom. What would it take for her to reclaim that sense of adventure? As she wiped down the counter, her resolve hardened. Perhaps Jake represented more than just an escape from her worries. Maybe he was a catalyst for change. But would letting him closer also mean opening vulnerability, risking disappointment? Through the flurry of orders, a small voice broke her reverie. "Mom, can we go camping this weekend?" Max's eyes sparkled with excitement, a reminder of the life she wanted to share with him, one filled with new experiences rather than fear and instability. A tight squeeze of her heart reminded her of her responsibilities, and yet, a surge of determination coursed through her. Maybe it was time to take a leap. That evening, after closing the diner, Emma found herself staring out the window at the empty streets, the glow of streetlights offering faint comfort. Jake had long since departed, leaving behind a warmth that fanned the flames of her curiosity about him. She hadn't just enjoyed their conversation, she had felt seen, a rare gift amidst the chaos of her life. The decision loomed heavier than ever. Should she reach out to him? Could he identity the change she was yearning for? Or was it reckless to hope for anything beyond transient companionship? Moments later, her fingers hovered over her phone. She hesitated. Contacting Jake felt dangerous, a step into the unknown. But didn't every path to growth require facing fears? Her internal dialogue wrestled with the choice. She could stay here, comfortably suffocated by routine, or take a chance that could redefine her life. Stringing together a message felt like unraveling a series of tightly wound threads. She finally hit send, her heart racing as if leaping off a cliff. Immediate regret rolled in like a wave. Had she overstepped? In the silence that followed, she grappled with doubt, but a quiet voice inside urged her to stay steadfast. This could lead to opportunities beyond her imagination. As the clock ticked forward, her phone chimed with a response. A thrill raced through her veins. "Hey Emma, I really enjoyed our talk too. Would you like to grab coffee tomorrow?" His offer dangled before her like a promise. Could this be the stepping stone to change? She took a deep breath, realizing a fundamental shift had begun within her. This was more than casual coffee. It was a chance to breathe in encouragement, to learn to trust again. To engage with the world outside the confines of her struggles might just lead the way toward her dreams. Tomorrow would mean facing those dreams head-on with renewed intent, perhaps no longer merely a keeper of time, but a seeker of moments filled with potential. But that thought also ignited a new concern. Was she truly ready to uncover what lay beneath her years of fear? The possibilities loomed vast and uncertain. With resolve settling into her bones, she turned off the lights in the diner, the streetlights flickering like distant stars. The decision had been made, but a profound question lingered. Would she rise to meet the challenges ahead, or retreat back into the shadows of her doubts? Tomorrow would reveal everything. Morning light filtered through the diner windows, illuminating the familiar space that now felt charged with a different energy. Emma busied herself with setting up, every clink of the dishes punctuating the nervous flutter in her chest. Today was not just another day, it was a threshold to something new. She wanted to approach it as more than a waitress. She wanted to be a woman ready to embrace the potential that had, for so long, felt just out of reach. As she brewed coffee, thoughts of Jake consumed her. The anticipation of their meeting filled her with excitement but also dread. Would he see beyond the facade of the diner, the woman who had been beaten down by life's unpredictability? What if they shared their dreams only for her to realize that hers were too insubstantial or naive in comparison? The possibilities offered both hope and fear, two sides of the same coin. Max ran through the diner door, dragging a backpack that seemed much too big for him. "Mom," he shouted, his energy cutting through her anxiety. "Can we have pancakes for breakfast? I'm going to camp out in the backyard later." His vivacity, while heartwarming, only reminded Emma of the contrast between his innocent dreams and her adult responsibilities. "Of course, pancakes coming right up," she replied, attempting to match his enthusiasm. Yet she couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that it was time to share more than just breakfast with Max. It was time to start creating memories that inspired adventure rather than stifled it. While flipping pancakes, her mind wandered again to Jake. She couldn't help but wonder what it would be like to travel with someone like him, to explore new landscapes, and to rediscover parts of herself she had set aside. Was it possible this first coffee meeting could piece together the fragments of her former self? She flipped the final pancake and wiped her brow, preparing for the shift in her day as customers arrived. The small cafe quickly transformed into a hub of chatter, yet her focus remained on the clock, each tick incrementally raising her anxiety as the hour drew near. Suddenly, the bell above the diner door jingled, announcing the arrival of Jake. The sight of him brought an unexpected rush of warmth, as if her heart recognized him even before her brain caught up. He strolled in with that easy smile, instantly easing the tension coiling within her. "Hey, Emma, it's great to see you," he said, his tone casual yet genuine. She felt a rush of energy at the sound of his voice. It reminded her of all the possibilities that lay beyond the walls of the diner. "Coffee?" she asked, trying to sound cool despite the butterflies dancing wildly in her stomach. He nodded, sliding onto a stool. The conversation flowed naturally, as if they were picking up from where they had left off. Jake was full of anecdotes about his travels, but he also seemed genuinely interested in her hopes and dreams. "What do you want to do once you save the diner?" he asked, leaning slightly forward. The question caught her off guard, forcing her to dig deep. I guess I want to create a space that feels welcoming and alive. Something that sparks joy, not just for others but for me too. I want to find out what's outside of these walls," she admitted, a mix of vulnerability and courage suffusing her words. His eyes flickered with interest, urging her to continue. "What makes you passionate, Emma?" In that moment she began to unravel, discovering emotions she'd buried beneath layers of obligation and fear. "I used to love photography, but I haven't picked up my camera in years." Her voice quivered slightly as she admitted her passion, yet the simple act of voicing it felt liberating. Jake's next question reverberated in her mind. What if you let yourself explore your passion again? The idea ignited something inside her, pushing up against the barriers she had built. Could photography be her path to reclaiming her identity, to finding the vivacity she had long cast aside? But as the conversation progressed, a haunting thought crept in. What if pursuing this passion led her away from the diner, from everything she had worked so hard to maintain? The internal conflict wrestled within her, balancing ambition against loyalty. As the sun began its slow descent and their meeting drew to a close, Emma felt both apprehensive and invigorated. The conversation had opened a door, but would she dare to walk through it? Would she take the chance to evolve and confront her fears, or would she retreat, clinging to the familiar? Before they parted ways, Jake said, "I'd love to see your photos one day. Don't be afraid to chase that passion." His encouragement lingered, a push urging her toward a decision that could alter her path. With their farewell, Emma stood there, contemplating the weight of his words. As the air thickened with anticipation, she realized she was at a crossroads, one that demanded her to choose between safety and the unknown. But what would happen if she finally chose to embrace uncertainty? As she watched him disappear into the evening light, a dawning realization emerged. This was only the beginning, and the struggle would continue. But perhaps, just perhaps, she could learn to be brave in the face of fear. Tomorrow would demand clarity and courage. It was time to confront the deepest part of herself and uncover the hidden identities waiting to be explored. Would she let her dreams breathe or suffocate them in doubt once more? The next morning, the diner buzzed with the usual rhythm as Emma prepared for the day ahead. Each coffee pot filled, every table wiped down, reverberated with a renewed sense of purpose. The conversation with Jake lingered in her mind like the sweet aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Inviting, warm, and with an edge of something new, something daunting. As she worked, she noticed the way the sunlight poured through the window, spilling onto the floor like a golden pathway. It felt surreal, almost like the universe had spotlighted her moment of potential. She contemplated what it meant to chase after her dreams, her heart racing at the thought of picking up her camera once more. But as Max wandered in, eyes sparkling with excitement, Emma felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on her shoulders. He was bouncing on his feet, clutching a sketchbook filled with crayon drawings. "Look, Mom, I want to take pictures like a real artist." His words struck her. He wanted to capture magic just like she once did. The ache in her heart intensified. She saw both her lost ambition reflected in him and the future she had neglected. Shouldn't she be the one to model the bravery she wanted him to embody? With a resolve that surprised her, Emma knelt down beside him, admiring the whimsical shapes and colors. "These are amazing, Max, but have you thought about adding photographs to your drawings?" His brow furrowed in concentration. "What do you mean?" "Why not capture the world around you? How about we go outside after school, and you can take photos of whatever you find interesting?" For a moment, they locked eyes. He beamed, and she felt a flicker of excitement ignite in her chest. This was more than just an art project. It was a chance for them to bond and explore, and for her to reclaim a part of herself she had locked away. As the day went by, the customers flowed in and out. Yet Emma's focus was constantly drawn back to this new plan she was sketching in her mind. Could she find the courage to break from her routine? To chase down the thrill of creativity alongside her son? The notion struck her. It wasn't just Max who was reaching for dreams. She too had to break free. The late afternoon saw her perched at the register, anxiously awaiting Jake's arrival. What if she asked him for advice, for ideas? Each passing minute seemed to stretch her anticipation taut, a palpable electricity buzzing between hope and trepidation. When the bell above the door jingled once more, she looked up to see Jake enter, the same easy smile gracing his face. Her heart leaped, not just at the sight of him but at the thought of sharing her tentative plans. "Good to see you again, Emma," he said, settling into his usual spot. "How has the day treated you?" "Busy as usual," she replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "But I've been thinking about what you said the other day." He leaned in slightly, curiosity sparked in his gaze. "I want to pursue photography again. It's something I used to love, but I've let life push it aside." The words felt foreign as they left her mouth, but there was a sense of relief in finally verbalizing it. "What's holding you back?" Jake asked. "Jake?" A flash of fear gripped her. This was the moment to open her heart and soul. "I guess I'm afraid it will lead me away from everything I've built here. What if, in chasing my passion, I lose my anchor?" His expression softened as he considered her predicament. "What if you discover part of yourself that can bring new energy to what you have here? Life's about balance, Emma. You can create a beautiful mosaic of your responsibilities and your passions." His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, igniting a spark of determination. It was true. The diner was her anchor, and perhaps re-engaging with her passion could brighten its spirit rather than dim it. "What if I plan a photography day with Max after school?" she said, her voice tinged with excitement. "And maybe I could share those photos with customers. Give them a glimpse into our lives outside these walls." "That's a fantastic idea. You'd not only cultivate your skill, but you'd also connect with your community," Jake encouraged, his enthusiasm infectious. As they continued talking, the days ahead felt charged with potential. Emma felt the pull of her dual life, the weight of her responsibilities intertwined with daring exploration. Empowered by Jake's support and her son's ambition, she began to chart a course through the uncertainty. It wasn't just a question of artistic freedom anymore. It was about creating a new legacy, bridging her past into her present and setting a vibrant example for Max. Just as they concluded their conversation, the diner's bell rang out again, and a familiar face walked in, shifting the atmosphere. Emma barely had time to register her childhood friend Lila, stepping through the door before her heart sank. Lila had always been the artistic spirit, the one who flourished in the vibrant world of creativity. And now, confronted with her after years apart, Emma felt the deep-rooted insecurities stir within her, questioning if the pursuit of her own dreams was still enough. The moment felt electric, a collision of past and potential. How would Lila react to Emma's newfound aspirations? Would Emma find even more strength in this encounter, or would it shake her resolve once again? The tension hung thick in the air as she faced her friend, who looked more radiant than ever. Would this unexpected reunion inspire Emma or serve as a reminder of everything she feared to become? Emma's heart raced as Lila approached, her vibrant energy reminiscent of their youth. With each step, Lila's enthusiasm exploded in warm greetings for the diner staff, her laughter illuminating the space with a spark that contrasted sharply with Emma's quiet anxiety. For a fleeting moment, memories of their carefree days flared within Emma, engulfing her in feelings of longing and fear. "Emma, I can't believe it's you," Lila exclaimed, her eyes shining with genuine surprise. "How long has it been?" She smiled back, though the anxiety twisted like a knot in her stomach. "Too long, obviously. Life just got busy." Lila's gaze traveled to the walls filled with local art and memorabilia. "This place has so much character. You've built something beautiful here." "Thanks," Emma replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've kind of poured everything into it. Gosh, I remember when we used to dream about creating art together." Lila's tone shifted to a playful reminiscence, nostalgia lacing her words. "You always had this fierce talent, Emma. Have you kept it up?" At that moment, Emma grappled with the weight of truth. Her creative flame had dimmed, relegated to the corners of her life. "Not really, I've been a bit lost in everything." Lila's expression softened, an understanding glimmering in her eyes. "Yeah, I get that. But passions don't have an expiration date, you know." Emma's pulse quickened as she held Lila's gaze, a mixture of encouragement and envy swirling within her. Would her friend understand that it was both fear and familial duty keeping Emma tethered to the diner? "Actually," Emma began, a new resolve sparking inside her, "I've decided to pursue photography again. I want to share it with Max to show him it's never too late to chase dreams." "Wow, that sounds incredible, just like old times," Lila encouraged, her support immediate and uplifting. "We should absolutely do something together, like a creative project or even a joint exhibition." "An exhibition?" The word hung heavy in the air, a daunting but enticing prospect. "I don't know if I'm ready for that." "Why not?" Lila leaned in closer. "We could create a series based on the diner and the stories within its walls. You'd find that spark again through collaboration, and it might even bring out some things you've buried deep." The thought sent a whirlwind through Emma's mind. Creating alongside Lila would force her past insecurities to the forefront, but it also ignited a flicker of excitement. She considered how boldness could tear through the tight confines she had constructed around herself. This could be a profound opportunity to rediscover her creative self, not just for her, but for Max too. "But what if I fail?" she nearly whispered, a clamor of doubt seeping back in. "Every journey has its risks, Emma," Lila said, her voice steady. "But think about it this way. What will you gain if you don't try? You have a chance to inspire him, to show him what it means to face fears head-on." Emma felt the pressure of Lila's words, her own dreams pulling at her as she'd never anticipated. The thought of exposing herself to criticism and judgment flooded her with both dread and exhilaration. Could she take those first steps beyond the safety of the diner, beyond routines that defined her? "I'll think about it," Emma replied, though deep down she sensed that the moment called for a commitment that went far beyond mere contemplation. As they talked and laughter blended with the diner's familiar din, Emma's heart began to unfurl, inching closer to that path she had long suppressed. Tomorrow she would take that step, with Max, with Lila, and for herself. Just as the conversation hovered around tentative dreams and the possibilities they could construct together, Emma heard a soft but deliberate sigh from the corner of the diner. Her attention shifted to a man seated alone, watching them intently. It was Jake, his familiar smile turned thoughtful, perhaps contemplating the changes Emma was grappling with. What would he think of her interaction with Lila? Would he view it as a challenge to their recent connection, or might he see it as another layer of Emma's exploration toward her rebirth? The unpredictability of it all began to weight her down again. And in that moment, as uncertainty twisted alongside her newfound aspirations, Emma realized that just as her story was unfolding, so too was each new encounter. The pull of her passions, alongside the influence of her past, had crafted an intricate narrative, one that had only just begun to write itself. Tomorrow would hold its trials, but along with it, excitement churned within her. Emma found herself wondering, would she dare to invite Jake into this new journey? The question lingered, hovering in her mind as she prepared for the next chapter of her life. Emma awoke to the soft light of dawn filtering through her bedroom window, the day's impending possibilities swirling in her mind like the gentle fog outside. Today held promise, a chance to breathe life back into her dormant passion for photography. But as excitement built, shadows of doubt clawed at the corners of her mind. Could she really do this? And what if Lila's enthusiasm couldn't puncture the reality of her fears? She dressed methodically, choosing clothes that felt comfortable yet purposeful, as though presenting herself to the world were an act of defiance against her own self-imposed limitations. The reflection in the mirror revealed not just her exterior, but the simmering determination beneath. Today was different. At the diner, the familiar clatter of dishes and the aroma of fresh coffee enveloped her, yet the world felt charged with expectation. When Max rushed into the diner, his enthusiasm matched Lila's. She could see it in his stride, the way he approached life with unfiltered passion. "Mom, what adventure are we going on today?" he asked, eyes sparkling with curiosity. Emma paused, offering a tentative smile as the weight of her ambitions bore down on her resolve. "How about we explore some really cool things to photograph around town?" The words tasted strange on her tongue, yet freeing. "Can I take pictures too?" Max's excitement seemed to lift her faltering spirits, transforming her anxiety into resolve. "Of course we'll be a team," she replied, her heart swelling with a sense of purpose. This was not just about her revival but about showing Max the beauty of creative expression. Later, armed with their cameras, they ventured out into the town, snapping photos of mundane moments that felt vibrant through the lens: the old bookstore with its cracked facade, children splashing in the park fountain, a lonely sunflower fighting for sunlight in an alleyway. Each click of the shutter opened a door to the emotional territory she had long neglected. Yet, as they wandered, Emma felt lurking shadows of her inner critic whispering doubts. What if she misunderstood this creative pursuit? What if her and Max's images failed to capture the essence of the world around them? In moments of silence, she grappled with the historical weight of expectations, both her own and those she perceived from others. As they approached the diner, Emma felt the pull of Lila's suggestion. What if they did collaborate on that exhibition? What if she could transform this exploration into something bigger? But the specter of failure hung heavily. The fear of exposing herself, of risking her narrative against the judgmental gaze of an audience, began gnawing at her. Max bounded ahead to greet Lila, who had arrived to discuss their potential collaboration. The palpable excitement between the three of them hung in the air, but even as laughter broke out over shared moments, Emma's heart thudded heavily in her chest. "So, how did your adventure go?" Lila's eyes shone with eagerness. "Great. I realized I love photographing everyday life," Emma expressed, willing her voice to steady despite the turmoil within. This was the moment, to lay her intentions bare. "And I want to do that exhibition, but I need to know that I'm not alone in this." The air stilled as both Lila and Max regarded her with an intensity that felt like strength being poured back into her. "I'm so proud of you for taking that step, Emma," Lila encouraged. "This could be our moment to shine and create something real together." The prospect of collaboration sprang forth within Emma, igniting possibilities that began to overshadow her fears. Yet, her mind flicked back to Jake, watching quietly from his usual corner. What if he were to be part of this journey? Would he see her renewed spirit or simply the same woman bound by the fear of significance? "I'll echo what Lila said," Jake chimed in, his steady gaze unbroken. "Every story holds power. Let's share yours." The room seemed to contract for a moment, his words bridging the connection between her past and this potential future. Could she really invite Jake into the fold of this new chapter? As Emma stood at the precipice of her decision, realization dawned. It wasn't just about facing her fears or crafting an exhibition. It was about embracing the complex threads of her life, connections forged in vulnerability. The night would bring more contemplation, and as she prepared to engage deeply with their collective dreams, tension weighed heavily. How would she approach Jake about her burgeoning aspirations and fears attached to their relationship? She took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying. Tomorrow would unveil yet another layer of this intricate narrative, one where she would confront her sense of belonging while navigating the stirring currents of ambition and intimacy. She felt vulnerable, yet exhilarated. Would she summon the courage to dive deeper into this unfolding journey with Jake alongside her? The morning broke with fresh resolve, sunlight pouring into Emma's space, chasing away remnants of lingering self-doubt. She stood in front of the mirror again, this time not just to present herself but to assert who she was becoming. There was a focus in her gaze that hadn't been there before, a spark ignited by the collaborative energy of those around her. Today wasn't just about photography, it was about stepping into the light of her own narrative. With her camera slung over her shoulder, she made her way to the diner. Each step felt heavier with the weight of her decision. Could she really invite Jake into this journey? The thought terrified and thrilled her simultaneously. She barely noticed the clinking of cups and the hum of conversation as she entered the diner, her mind wrapped around the challenge of confronting her own vulnerabilities. "Hey, there she is." Lila's cheerful tone disrupted Emma's racing thoughts. "Ready to capture some magic today?" Emma nodded, feigning confidence. "Absolutely. I was thinking we could start with the park, maybe get some shots of the festival preparations. It might spark some ideas for our exhibition." "Great idea," Lila beamed, but Emma didn't miss the curiosity in her friend's eyes. The unspoken question, "What's going on with you and Jake?" hung in the air like a specter. Max, blissfully unaware of the adult intricacies surrounding him, pulled on Emma's sleeve. "Can I take the lead with the camera today?" "Of course, buddy. You deserve to explore just as much as we do," Emma replied, her heart warming at his enthusiasm. This was the foundation of her renewed journey. Not just her passions, but nurturing his creativity too. As they ventured to the park, colors exploded around them in vibrant displays. Children scampered under the sun, laughter echoing as families prepared for the day. Emma's lens captured it all, the spontaneous joy radiating around her. Each click conquered a little piece of her fear. But despite the exhilarating moments, her thoughts drifted back to Jake. Could she truly share this budding project with him? Or would the weight of past heartbreak overshadow their newfound connection? Resting briefly on a park bench, Emma pulled out her notebook, her heart pounding furiously as she began jotting down ideas for the exhibition's theme. She felt overwhelmed, yet exhilarated. What Emma wanted to convey was more than just images. It was a narrative of hope, struggle, and victory. It was a tapestry woven from her and Max's shared experiences and the artistry of their view of the world. Suddenly, a familiar figure stepped into her line of sight. Jake, walking towards them with the kind of confidence that immediately made her heart race. He approached with a friendly wave, and Emma's breath caught. Would he see the creative development she was nurturing, or was she merely a reflection of the loss they had shared? "Hey, didn't expect to find you all out here enjoying the day," he said, smiling, yet she sensed an underlying curiosity. "Just capturing the light," she replied, her tone steadier than her thoughts. "What about you?" "Thought I'd check out the preparations for the exhibition." Jake's gaze shifted to her camera. "You've been going out a lot. What's the plan?" Emma hesitated, fighting the urge to shy away from the truth. "Lila and I want to do something meaningful. It's just, I need to figure out how to pull it all together." The unguarded honesty hung in the air, but she needed to propel deeper. A revelation flickered in her mind like a distant star. Perhaps this was the moment to welcome Jake into her aspirations, rather than holding him at arm's length. "Would you like to help?" She barely recognized her own voice, edged with vulnerability yet laced with determination. "Your perspective could really add something unique." The air grew thick with anticipation. Jake's brows rose in surprise but quickly settled into an expression of thoughtfulness. Emma watched as he processed her invitation, the silence stretching between them an uncomfortable void. "Sure," he finally replied, his response imbued with sincerity. "I'd love to be part of something that means so much to you." Emma felt a surge of warmth flooding her chest. This was a turning point, an invitation to knit a shared narrative with him, bridging not only their creative pursuits, but the complexities of their past. Let's meet later to brainstorm, Emma offered, her heart racing with both anxiety and joy. As they exchanged details, excitement tinged with apprehension began to unfurl within her. This wasn't just about painting with lights and shadows. It was about exploring the depths of connection, both personal and artistic. The day morphed into a kaleidoscope of possibilities as they ventured deeper into projects and plans. But as the sun began to dip low in the sky, a pulse of uncertainty returned. Would this newfound collaboration deepen their bond, or fracture the fragile exchange of trust built between them? As Emma stared into the horizon, she pondered how the next step for her artistic journey intertwined with her evolving relationship with Jake. Tomorrow loomed like a blank canvas, urging her to put aside the shadows of fear. How would she navigate this intricate balance of ambition and intimacy when their intertwined lives held so much unresolved tension? The next morning, Emma woke with a sense of urgency coursing through her veins. It was as if the sunlight pressing through her window carried secrets waiting to be unveiled. Today would not simply be another meeting. It would mark a decisive pivot in her personal and professional life. She dressed methodically, each piece of clothing a representation of the new direction she aimed to embrace: confident, daring, unapologetic. As she made her way to the park, the anticipation mingled with her ever-present fear. Each passing face reminded her that she was part of a community and narrative yet to be fully realized. She approached the familiar bench where she and Jake had first discussed their collaboration, her heart pounding in sync with her hurried steps. Arriving early gave her a moment to gather her thoughts. She pulled out her camera and allowed the world around her to fade away. The gentle rustling of leaves and the distant sound of laughter provided a comforting soundtrack. This moment was hers to seize. With each click, she sought to capture raw emotion, genuine connection, everything she had longed to express but struggled to convey. When Jake arrived, he was greeted with her steady gaze, set on finding strength in the vulnerability of their collaboration. He smiled as if he sensed the shift in her energy, but she was ready to confront what their project represented for both of them. "Glad you could make it," she said, attempting to mask the tremor in her voice. "No place I'd rather be," he replied, sincerity woven in his tone. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said yesterday. I want to understand your vision." Emma inhaled sharply. This was it. No more skirting around the deeper implications of their partnership. "I've realized that my photography isn't just about capturing images. It's about telling stories. Our stories. The stories we don't always share." Jake nodded, his eyes reflecting a curiosity that sparked something within her. "Then let's tell them," he said, and Emma could see a glimmer of excitement ignite in his expression. The next several hours saw them flitting from one idea to another, brainstorming themes that blended art with personal narratives. They discussed the significance of moments that shaped their lives, the struggles they faced individually, and the resilience that had brought them together. Yet as they conversed, Emma's mind flickered between hope and hesitation. Would unearthing these vulnerabilities ultimately strengthen their bond or expose old wounds? Finally, as the sun began to tilt lower in the sky, they reached a consensus on a cohesive theme: fragments of us. Each piece would represent not only their artistic journeys but also the intersections of their pasts that had led them to this moment. "Let's start going through our photographs," Emma suggested, feeling a surge of determination. "We can blend both our perspectives and see how they resonate with each other." Jake's face lit up, and for a brief moment Emma felt an electric current pass between them. Perhaps this collaboration could be a healing process rather than simply a creative venture. But as they pulled out their phones to sift through images, an unease crept back in, a whisper of doubts about how her heart would react as their past lingered between them. As they sat side by side, Emma skimmed through the photos, realizing her hand ever so slightly brushed against Jake's as they reached for a shared image, a candid moment of laughter from a forgettable night months ago. Her breath caught. Could creativity be the bridge to confront what lay hidden beneath their shared surface? "Are you ready for this?" Jake's voice broke through her thoughts, a question tinged with hope and trepidation. Looking at him, Emma felt a compelling urge to navigate this precarious path together, to confront their intertwined story. Yet beneath the surface, an unsettling thought emerged. Did they have the strength to face the truth, the grief and joy buried in their history? A sudden awareness ignited within her. This project was more than art. It was a call to illuminate the aspects of both their lives they had kept tucked away. Yet, with every revelation, came the risk of tearing down the walls they had so carefully built. Emma's heart pounded with a realization. There would be no progressing without fully confronting the past. She took a deep breath, ready to dive deeper into that turbulent water. Let's make this a journey, a true exploration of everything that framed who we are today. As she said the words, a sense of finality settled around her. This was not just about photography, but a reckoning, an interrogation of their truths. The sunlight dimmed slightly, casting shadows that seemed to pulse with unspoken history. The looming questions reverberated in her mind. How deep would they dare to go? And would the answers they uncovered bring healing or heartache? Emma felt an urgency propelling her forward as a new train of thought took root. Today was only the beginning. The shadows had only just begun to stir. As the days turned into nights, Emma found herself consumed by the project. Her camera became an extension of herself, the lens capturing not just images but shards of their lives filled with hidden meanings. Every photograph unearthed memories and emotions, both exhilarating and frightening. She learned to embrace the discomfort, turning it into creative fuel. Jake became a steadfast partner, his enthusiasm infectious. They spent countless evenings at their makeshift studio, a corner of her apartment cluttered with prints, scattered notebooks, and half-empty coffee cups. Each session unveiled more than just images. They peeled back layers of each other's stories like peeling bark from a tree, revealing the raw, vibrant wood underneath. She admired his straightforward way of articulating thoughts, something she struggled with. The contrast was sharpened by his willingness to challenge her, to push her to expose more of herself through each piece. "Emma, you should think about incorporating voiceovers with the images," Jake suggested one night, his brow furrowing in contemplation. "It's not just about capturing moments, it's about sharing the soul of those moments." His words tangled in her mind, igniting a flame of inspiration buried deep within her. Voiceovers? Wasn't that adding another layer, making her more vulnerable? But perhaps it was the missing element her work desperately needed. The personal narratives that would bring the visual stories to life. What if I leave parts of my story raw? What if people can hear the uncertainty in my voice? She mused aloud. Jake nodded, unfazed. That's exactly it. It shows authenticity. It invites others to feel what you felt. His unwavering confidence underscored her self-doubt. Yet she resolved to give it a shot. That night, Emma found herself reworking her process, eager to combine photography and her voice. The words began to flow as she poured herself into the microphone, reliving moments of joy, sorrow, fear, and hope that shaped her journey. With each recording, her nervousness transformed into an exhilarating freedom, as though each phrase stripped away a layer of armor she had worn for far too long. Still, shadows of apprehension flickered just beyond her enthusiasm. As Emma shared snippets of her voiceovers with Jake during their next meeting, she held her breath, waiting for his response. Would he see beyond the words, to the fear lingering beneath her bravado? "Your voice, it's compelling," he declared after listening intently. "But it's also raw. Don't shy away from personal truths. Make the audience feel your vulnerabilities." His feedback was both a balm and a challenge. Emma felt discomfort surge within her, a reminder of the last time she had been so exposed. Could she truly bring forth her past heartbreaks and triumphs without folding in on herself? Did she possess the fortitude to face not just her pain, but the potential judgment of others? So many questions consumed her as moments of hesitation crept back. Days turned to weeks, and soon they were deep into their project, producing drafts that interwove their lives like the creases of a tapestry. Yet with each audio-visual story that blossomed, Emma felt herself standing on the precipice of revelation. The project demanded honesty, and she was unsure if she was ready to climb. One evening, as she stared at a photo of herself captured on a stormy day, her face showing both strength and vulnerability. She felt a clenched fist around her heart. It was then that she understood. Beneath their images lay an entire narrative woven with the fabric of their fears, dreams, and unresolved tension. And what if this project leads us down different paths? Emma questioned, her voice barely above a whisper as she turned away from the photographs. What if it unearths things we're not ready to confront? Jake stepped closer and placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. Or it could connect us more deeply than we ever imagined. But only if we're both all in, no holds barred. Taking a deep breath, Emma sensed her resolve reaching a tipping point. The question that lingered on the edge of her mind grew louder. Did she have the courage to transform their explorations into a true unveiling of their souls? With every click of the shutter, through every recorded word, she was opening a door, and behind it lurked the unknown. Now, faced not just with external judgment but also her internal fears, she knew the moment of truth was nearing. As she gazed through her camera at the world around her, she felt the familiar pulse of urgency surge again. Was she ready for the revelations waiting to emerge? The shadows had intertwined with light, culminating in an inevitable confrontation with herself that would soon unfold. The intensity of the moment hung thick in the air, and as she pondered her next steps, an unsettling thought settled deep within her. If she were to truly unveil the depth of her story, might it also demand she confront a long-buried secret that linked her fate to Jake in ways she never foresaw? The night before their exhibition launch, Emma found herself in a realm defined by anticipation and fear. The aroma of coffee wafted through the diner, merging with the warmth of her late-night brainstorming session with Jake. Their project, Fragments of Us, was ready to be unveiled. Yet beneath the surface, a storm brewed within her. She had meticulously curated the images, crafted story arcs that spoke to the resilience of their lives. But as the hour approached, the weight of her hidden truth whispered dire warnings. Standing in the diner, surrounded by her photography, Emma stared out at the quiet streets illuminated by streetlights, a metaphorical lighthouse guiding her toward decision. The diner had always been her anchor, but it was also the cocoon from which she needed to emerge. She pondered how intertwined her journey with Jake had become. Their conversations had shattered her insecurities and reignited passions, yet they had inevitably surfaced memories that triggered deep-rooted fears. Emma. Jake's voice pulled her from her reverie. He entered the diner, a blend of excitement and nervousness radiating from him. "You're ready for this, right?" She turned to face him, the warmth of his smile solidifying her resolve. "I am. But there's something we need to discuss before we open our work to the world." The gravity of her admission hung between them, making her pulse race. Unmasking the deeper connection they shared felt monumental, yet the very thought of unearthing her truth was daunting. "Of course," Jake replied, his brows nodding with concern. "What's on your mind?" Emma hesitated, searching for the right words. "My story," she began, steadying herself, "isn't just about my passion for photography or the struggles of running the diner. It also involves my father." Jake seemed to lean in, encouraging but cautious. The mention of her father's abandoned legacy stirred memories, jangling the harmony she had finally begun to construct in her life. "What about him?" "I've always been overshadowed by his success, left feeling like I had to carry the weight of his choices. It's a part of me I've buried deep out of fear and resentment." With each word, Emma felt release. "I had to fight for my independence." She took a deep breath, the truth pouring out. "And I think a part of me has been afraid of letting someone else in, like you." Jake's gaze pierced through her, resonating with empathy. "And yet here you are, sharing this with me. That's courageous." His words felt like a balm to her frayed edges, urging her to dig deeper. "But what if this doesn't go well? What if my story exposes weakness?" The vulnerability of facing judgment overshadowed her resolve. Jake stepped closer, eliciting warmth in the intimacy of their shared space. "Every story has its light and shadows, Emma. Your journey resonates with those who feel lost. This exhibition, it's more than art. It's a testament of who we are." With those words, the world around her dimmed, and in that silence Emma recognized the profound truth lingering beneath her insecurities. Her story was not just hers to share. It had the power to inspire, to connect, and to evoke empathy. As they prepared for the exhibition, the diner transformed into a haven of creativity. The walls embellished with their framed photographs felt vibrant with energy, each capture narrating different facets of their lives. With each piece, pieces of themselves were carefully laid bare, meticulously woven together to form a tapestry that revealed their intertwined fates. The hour arrived and visitors flooded the diner, the air tinged with excitement and curiosity. Emma stood by the entrance, anxiety churning within her as faces filled the space. She spotted Max, his eyes wide with wonder, standing by Lila and other friends who had shown up to support her. They were beacons of encouragement amidst the uncertainty. "Are you ready?" Jake asked, his voice calming, grounding her. With a deep inhale, Emma plastered on a smile, defiance guiding her steps as they began sharing their work. Each photograph elicited reactions, emotions bubbling forth as people connected with the stories. Feedback surged through her, blending with the laughter, whispers, and awe that filled the room. Then came the moment she had both yearned for and dreaded, the panel discussion. Emma stood before the audience with Jake, both ready to peel back the layers behind their work. She felt exposed yet empowered under the collective gaze. As Emma shared her journey, she felt the floodgates of her heart open wider. "This exhibition is a culmination of the stories we tell ourselves and each other," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor of vulnerability underlying her words. "Embracing our fears and uncertainties allows us to build connections that empower us." At that moment she saw it, the interest in the audience's eyes, the nods of understanding, the shared gasp of recognition at her words. When the discussion transitioned to a Q&A session, someone raised a hand. "How do you find the courage to share your struggles?" Emma's heart fluttered once again, and she felt the weight of her truth stabilize within her. "By recognizing that vulnerability is strength. Each of us carries a story, and it is in sharing those experiences that we find common ground." As she spoke, a wave of catharsis enveloped her. The tension that had gripped her heart began dissipating, revealing clarity and purpose. She had transformed. Her fears that once kept her bound had now become threads of connection and shared experience. The night closed, and as the last guests departed, a profound stillness settled over the diner. Emma felt a sense of triumph swelling in her chest. She had stepped into her truth, navigating the shadows that once felt insurmountable. Jake approached her, his eyes sparkling with admiration. "You were incredible, Emma. You conquered your fears tonight." Emma smiled back, and in that moment, a new chapter unfolded in both their lives. The weight of their shared history, layered with honesty and vulnerability, binded them closer than they had anticipated. Together they had carved a path toward a future illuminated by authenticity and connection. "Thank you for tonight and for pushing me," Emma murmured, a realization cascading over her. "Thank you for trusting me with your story," Jake replied, his voice warm and sincere, echoing the depth of their mutual understanding. As they cleared up the remnants of the night, Emma felt a lightness in her heart, a liberating sense of clarity and achievement. She had embraced her narrative, confronting the shadows of her past while emerging wiser and more resilient. This was the moment she had fought for, a rebirth woven from her past experiences brought to life through creativity and vulnerability. And as she locked up the diner for the night, she knew she was finally stepping into a life of unapologetic dreams and possibilities. The journey that lay ahead shimmered with promise, a canvas waiting to be filled with colors she had long denied herself. Now, with confidence settled deep within her, Emma was ready to face whatever came next. If you were inspired by Emma's incredible journey, you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and support more emotional stories like this. Comment your reactions and theories about Emma's journey. Your insights matter. This is the moment to show your support. Experience the growth of individuals like Emma and remind yourself of what's possible.